Well, hello there. Good afternoon. Hope this day finds you happy, healthy, and thriving wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever it is you're endeavoring to reach to achieve, to accomplish, to just simply light up your own world, whatever it is you're doing in that regard. I just hope you're there. I hope that this moment, this day finds you in a space where you know you're living your best life, that you're doing the best you can with the resources that you have and with the knowledge that you have, and absolutely everything and anything your little heart desires is unfolding for you right here, right now, in this moment. Yeah. It's always great to be here. It is Thursday. It is the 16th of February, 2023. This is the New Thought Media Network. I'm Ken Ludwig, and you're watching the Vibrant Living Hour. Soon to be, I keep saying this, and eventually I'm going to change this, soon to be just Vibrant Living with Ken Ludwig. But right now it's the Vibrant Living Hour. Excuse me. I hope, hope this day finds you happy and healthy and just enjoying yourself. Whatever you're doing, man, I hope it's fun. I hope you're having a great time doing it. I just came from a weekend. Well, it's Thursday. It's not the weekend anymore. I guess it was 3 days ago that I got home. But I came from a weekend of, it was a boot camp for my business, for the my affiliate marketing company that I represent. And it was billed as something new and unusual, something different, something that we'd not really experienced before as far as a training goes. And it was every bit of that and more. It was done by a guy who's kind of famous for this boot camp model. His and I'm not sure that I want to name people's names here. I guess why not? If I can't be honest here, where can I be honest? The company is My Daily Choice, and you folks that watch the show know that's part of my sponsorship. HempWorks is my sponsor. That's a brand under the umbrella of My Daily Choice. And they have hired on a new guy, been with them about 6 months, I guess, maybe 5, his name is Mark Aceta. Mark Aceta is kind of a legend in the affiliate marketing, network marketing space. He has designed some training programs that have just helped people take their lives to the next level, not necessarily their business, their lives. And in so doing, I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, you take your life to the next level, your business is coming along because there's no place else for your business to go. So yeah, so he designs this thing. It's called a boot camp, and that's what I attended this weekend. It was great. It was fabulous training. It was like I said, everything it was billed to be and more. There was amazing trainings that went on, amazing testimonials. People just giving us real solid how-tos, things that you don't really see in that industry, in that space. You just don't see a lot of the how-tos. You get kind of generalizations and those kinds of things about this is a kind of program that works, or you can do things this way or that way. These are people getting up and telling you, okay, I am highly successful. These are all people making at least 5 figures a month, and every single one of them giving you specific how-tos. This is how I did it. Boom, 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 boom. It was fabulous. It was really fantastic. And some of it, there was enough diversity of daily methods of operation, if you will, that there was definitely pieces you could latch onto. Like, not everything that I heard was something I want to do or that resonates with me. But there were a couple of different things that will be things that I use to help me build my business, build myself, build my future. And that was really cool. But the question I asked around today's show was, are the principles of the science of mind spreading? And I asked the question because at the very, very end of our boot camp, the co-founder of the company, Jenna Zweigel, she was a student of Bob Proctor's and actually a personal friend of Bob Proctor. She had just gotten close to him. She was a real acolyte. She studied under him. She studied everything that he had to teach her. And she has little by little, she has come to be someone who talks very much metaphysics around building a business, around being your best self. And it has been fascinating to watch her progression, to watch her evolution, and through the teachings of Bob Proctor and the things that Bob Proctor taught her. And she talked on Sunday, the final day. She was the final speaker. She spoke on Sunday about her relationship with Bob, and she was referring to a question. She asked Bob Proctor, "What are you reading?" And Bob Proctor, this is hard to even fathom. Bob Proctor looked at her and said, "No one has ever asked me that question before." And she was blown away. She's like, "No one ever asked Bob Proctor, what are you reading?" And he said, no one's ever asked me. And so she said his answer was, and by the way, hi folks, I can see that you're watching out there. If you're watching the show, please, I'd love to hear your comments, your thoughts, any questions you might have. Just throw it in the comments. I'm thrilled to participate with you. But anyway, Jenna had asked Bob Proctor, "What are you reading?" And Bob Proctor showed her, and the book, and Jenna held up the book. The book was the lectures of Thomas Troward, who obviously was a huge New Thought thinker and a tremendous influence on Dr. Ernest Holmes. And I was fascinated. And Jenna has moved into this metaphysical space, and she's been talking about it a lot in all of her talks lately. And I have been just, again, thrilled to watch our evolution into deeper and deeper and deeper into what she has come to understand is the way to manifest what it is you want. And she's gotten very specific with people. She's gotten really excellent at describing her processes and what works for her. And it is starting to resonate with the crowd. People are starting to talk about it. Excuse me. And I find that absolutely amazing because it is pure metaphysics that she's talking about. And it seems to me that as time goes by, I hear metaphysics in more places, in more diverse environments. I hear people talking about the ability to vision and manifest more often in more places. And I think you hear a lot of people in business now talk about those are the most successful people in the world, are the people who can create a vision and then move towards it. And that is, I mean, how far back does that go? I mean, in my world, in my readings, it goes back to Shakti Gawain's creative visualization, Michael Beckwith's visioning processes. There are so many different methodologies for creating that visualization of what it is you truly want in the world, and then the process of going about manifesting it, which is we're come to understand is all about vibration. I mean, Einstein said that one, that it's whatever you want in this life, whatever you want to be your reality, is just simply figure out what the vibration of that reality is and then match it. I mean, that goes back into Einstein, into the 40s. That's what he was talking about, and that was his idea of how you can match up what you are desiring with with the field, with the quantum field, the infinite ocean of possibilities. I said a long time ago, when I used to listening to Tony Robbins, I used to listen to him once in a while, 20 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. And I used to say to people, inside Tony Robbins, there is a metaphysician, and he just doesn't, for whatever reason, he's not comfortable expressing what he's talking about in a metaphysical sense. And as the years have gone by, Tony Robbins is now almost totally metaphysical in his explanations and what he talks about. He's kind of gone to a place where he no longer cares if he's offending anybody's delicate sensibilities because they don't get the idea of meditation, or they think meditation is some kind of cult thing, or I've heard people talk about meditation as the work of the devil. But Tony Robbins gets it now, and gets it to the point where he can speak to it. I think it's imperative to realize that living the principles, speaking the principles, being able to talk on the level of a Tony Robbins, or even the stuff that Jenna Zweigel was talking about this weekend. And Jenna, trust me when I tell you, Jenna she's doing really, really well, but she's got a ways to go before she gets to a place where she's really, truly resonating with everyone in how she speaks, because she has the voice of authority with the crowd that she's in, but the crowd that she's in worships her because she's the co-founder of the company. And she's and has done amazing things. She's, at this point in time, she's the highest paid person in that particular space in the world, the highest paid woman in the world in that space, which is it's quite an accomplishment in my book, anyway. So it made me think about the textbook, about the Science of Mind, and this is my Science of Mind textbook. This is, I don't know, I think I got this in 2000, I think, so it's over 20 years old. You can see it's got a few sticky note flags in it. This book has been read 2.5 times. It is the most life-changing piece of literature in the history of my existence, and I love everything about this book. And I used to, when I used to teach in the teen church at Mile High Church in Colorado, I would teach at the beginning of the year in January. We would kind of mirror the adult church, and there was always Back to Basics month was January, and every week of the weeks of January, the Sundays in January, the senior minister at the time, Dr. Roger Teal, he would talk about the basics of the science of mind. And I used to say to him, this is not something we need to teach once a year. We should do Back to Basics once a quarter, so people get it, so people can latch onto it. And I have always maintained that the first 35 or 38 pages of this book is the introduction. And the introduction is, it's not chapters. It is the introduction. They use Roman numerals for the first 4 chapters of the book. And it's the thing itself, what it does, how it works, and how to use it. And basically, it is the step-by-step instructions of the Dr. Holmes's take on how we manifest the life that we wish to live by virtue of following spiritual principle, by virtue of following Einstein's vibration, if you will, by virtue of the ability to absolutely want to know in my core, the very core of my being, that I am an expression of the infinite. And as an expression of the infinite, I have that ability to channel, if you will, the energy, the vibration of the infinite into the solid pieces of my life, the reality of my existence. And when I think about that book, I think about what it meant to me. I think about I used to read every single year. I would read those 4 introductory chapters, and I've not done that in a long time. That ends now. I will start that again today. I will start reading the thing itself. The thing itself, of course, is the divine. It's God. It's the overarching creative intelligence. And then what it does, how it works, and how we use it. And I'm just going to reread it. I don't, not a whole lot more to say about it than that. I'm just going to reread it because to me it is a seminal starting point for metaphysical thought, for manifesting that life that we want, that existence that we would like to be our reality. So I'm and again, I backing up to, I don't know if I'm making a good point here or if I'm just babbling, but listening to Jenna Zweigel talk this weekend, I am hearing the principles of the science of mind, and her holding up Thomas Troward's book as something that Bob Proctor was reading just tells me that the spiritual principles are spreading. Spiritual principles are becoming more the norm. People follow the teachings of the Bob Proctors of the world, of the Tony Robbinses, of the different people who are out there in the world talking about spirituality, talking about manifestation, talking about meditation. Those people are growing in numbers all the time. It seems to me that there's just more and more of that knowledge being put out there into the world. And I have always been thrilled to have discovered metaphysics back in the early 90s. 92 or 93 is when I first discovered metaphysics. And it certainly is, to me, the pathway that makes the most sense. When you look at all of the possibilities of religious tradition in the world, the largest ones, the ones that we are most familiar with, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but for the most part, they make the least sense to me. They're based on blind faith, which is not a reality. Blind faith is just simply believing what you've been told without any kind of examination or research or thinking involved. You just believe. I think a lot of us fall into that category because our families practice a certain religious tradition, so we wind up in that religious tradition. And metaphysics is the only thing that has taken me to a feeling of I know the truth. There is no blind faith. Everything makes sense. I was brought up in I was brought up as an original Christian, the Catholic Church. I was brought up as a Catholic, and the Catholics always talked about the mysteries of faith. There are no mysteries of faith. Metaphysics makes that clear. The science of mind makes that clear. There are no mysteries of faith. There is just simply faith. And it can all be explained. It all has a reality. It all makes perfect sense once one is exposed to it. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I've read this book 2.5 times, because it makes so much sense to me. And because every time I read it, I got a different meaning out of it, as you do anytime you read something else. The other thing I love is that there is a whole section, I think it's about a fifth of the book, is from the teachings of Jesus, which is all the interpretations of the things that we have been told Jesus said. And Ernest Holmes absolutely believed in Jesus as an historical figure and perhaps as the most enlightened being of all times. He called him the master teacher. But never, ever, ever do we find ourselves in that category of wanting to get caught up in the savior thing. There is no savior for us. The savior is within. And quite honestly, Jesus said that over and over and over again. The Savior is within. The Christ consciousness is within. Christ is from the word Christ is from the Greek, meaning Christos, meaning anointed one. And we are all the anointed of God. We are all the individuations of that one entity, that overarching creative intelligence. We are, each and every one of us, just an individuation of it. And as I've said many, many times, maybe on this show, the only thing that it had to use as creative material was itself. Hi, Christopher White. How are you? I love all of Ernest Holmes' books, he says. Holmes wrote 26 or 27 or 28, something like that. And I've read half of them. I've read 13 or 14 of them. There's nothing but great stuff in all of them. And back in the day, I used to do an internet radio talk show before there was such a thing. We were way ahead of our time on the Co-Creator Network. And I used to think the show was What We're Thinking About. And the archives are long gone, although I still have them on a disc. But the show I started every single day, every week, I started with the Ernest Holmes's book, This Thing Called You. And I just opened the book. I would never, ever, ever predetermine what I was going to read. I just opened the book. Wherever I opened it, I read something, and that's where I launched my show from. And I love that book, but I love everything that Ernest Holmes wrote. He really spent an enormous amount of time and effort and great amount of intellect in distilling the commonalities of the great traditions of all the great religions of the world, which is just at their core, they are all the same. At their core, when we talk about, they all talk about oneness in one way, shape, or form. They all talk about love as the overarching, the overarching thing, if you will, of the universe. When we talk about the overarching creative intelligence or God, that is that universal unconditional love is itself. It is the thing itself. And I believe to my very core that it is spreading. It is going. That was the question I asked about at the beginning of the show. The idea that this mindset, this oneness of life, this idea that we are all connected. They say that Albert Einstein died a broken man because his one goal was to find the theory of everything, and he never quite nailed down a theory of everything. But Albert Einstein knew without question or doubt that there is a connection of everything to everything. Everything affects everything. And he knew that. And that mindset, that loving, caring oneness for and of all life is spreading. It's out there. It's becoming more and more and more talked about. It's becoming more commonplace. It's showing up, as I said, in this boot camp for business that I did this past weekend. There it was, plain as day, and which very refreshing, and led me to today's even the question of, is it spreading? I don't know. I can see you folks are out there. Have you got a question about that? Have you got a thought about that? What do you think? Do you think that Do you think that the idea of spiritual principles are spreading, even as churches, organized religion, are losing population, um, left, right, backwards, and forwards, and young people are not even starting in churches to even be part of the lost population? They're not even going to begin with. Even as that is happening, the spiritual is blossoming. I know in his book Spontaneous Evolution that he wrote with Steve Bierman, Dr. Bruce Lipton talked about the idea that we are coming into a second period of, or maybe even a third period um, of an animist mentality, meaning that we are recognizing that there is no separation between spirit and matter. The ancients knew that 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. The ancient peoples knew that there was no separation between spirit and matter. It was all one thing. It was all spirit expressing, and they expressed that themselves in the different ways of each tradition, but they all expressed it in some way, shape, or form. And Bruce Lipton says we're coming into that period of time again. We're coming out of. Draws a graph, and we are right now at a low point of where the truth teller is scientific materialism, is what he refers to it, where science is telling us our truth, but in telling us our truth, science makes everything cut and dried. Everything is black and white, and we can see even in the science deniers that are out there in the world, we can see that questioning of science is leading us to a more spiritual mindset, to that idea that there is no separation. And I think that idea is spreading all across the planet. More and more and more people are literally getting the idea that we are one, that there is no separation. Separation is the grand illusion. That is the illusion, that we are separate from one another, because literally there is no place where I end and you begin, and vice versa. And that's really, I'm sorry, I could I could probably ramble on around this for a very long period of time, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna stop. I want to touch on a few bases here. I want you to remember that the New Thought Media Network is a nonprofit organization, and that everything we do here is by the grace of your generosity. So if you are inclined, if you like my show, if you like other shows, if you're inclined to support us, please go to newthoughtmedia.org. That's ntmedia.org. Click on donate, and we're thrilled to get whatever it is that you want to provide for us. I know I mentioned earlier that my sponsor is hempworks.com. It is the single largest distributor, direct to consumer distributor of CBD and hemp products in the world, and the cleanest, purest, most potent CBD products you will find anywhere. I use them every single day of my life. I don't ever, ever, ever promote or sell anything I don't use and believe in. And trust me when I tell you, this is the real deal. So that's my sponsor. And it is part of what I mentioned earlier, mydailychoice.com/Ken Ludwig. Go there and you can find out everything you want to know about the other brands underneath that umbrella. We have, you can find me on Instagram, although I haven't done a whole heck of a lot on Instagram lately, but at evolving _hippie on Instagram. You can send me an email at teamrockitnow@gmail.com. And once again, just want to be really, really clear that New Thought Media Network is a nonprofit organization, and we thrive on your donations. If any of you folks that are watching right now, I can see there's a few people watching. If you have a question, a thought, anything you want to add to this conversation about whether or not spiritual principle is spreading across the planet, I'll give you a minute here to go ahead and express that to me. If not, I'm going to, as always, be very, very, very grateful for the great gift that is your time and your attention. I wish you all the love and the blessings that the universe has to offer. And I hope you will join me next Thursday and every single Thursday right here on New Thought Media Network. But until then, my friends, namaste.